David, this year marks the 10th anniversary of City A.M. How's the paper evolved in that time, and what's its standing in the city today?
I think its standing in the city is inexorably higher than it was at the beginning. I joined after year one, and although the paper had made a pretty good start, I noticed coming from national newspapers how difficult it was to engage the PR community. There wasn't much active communication from the other side. Chief execs, the reporters didn't really even think they could get hold of chief execs. That has completely changed. The PR community is almost queuing up to get in. We've got banks like Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, sending people, their top people into the office to communicate with us. Interviews are much easier with chief execs. Things are much more on a level pegging with the national papers. But secondly, the distribution of the paper has changed. The whole model has changed. At the beginning, it was distributed in the city. People picked it up at the end of their journey and consequently didn't have so much time to read it. That was a common complaint. That's been addressed in many cases, not in all, but we're distributing much more widely.
Now that you're at the helm, since your appointment in October, what are your plans for the paper? How are you going to take it forward?
I think, one of the things that had really struck me for sort of 2 or 3 years, in fact, prior to my appointment, was what an amazing masthead we have, Business with Personality. And speaking to people in the media community, I felt we weren't really making as much of that as we could. So basically, the idea that business can be fun, that there are so many interesting personalities in business, in the city, in politics, that's something we've been doing a lot more of, pushing them to the forefront. So we're doing a lot of interviews on a daily basis, whereas we used to do it on a weekly basis before. We're doing read-throughs, slightly longer reads within the book. The second thing is the magazine part of the print side is expanding dramatically. We've got a very successful fashion magazine, Bespoke. We launched a living magazine, which is Property, recently, and there'll be a personal finance magazine coming out shortly. The other thing I'd like to do is really extend and expand our events section. We have a very successful awards evening once a year. We've done various roundtables on the IPO market and football finance and day trading, and that's something that I think we've got a very good opportunity to exploit.
And finally, just thinking about the PR community and about our audience, what opportunities are there for PRs to engage more proactively with City A.M? What advice would you give to the PR community?
I think think imaginatively and try to buy into what we're trying to do, which is make the paper lively, make people think that by reading City A.M, they're getting a piece of London and that it's a very exciting place to be. So, for instance, a few weeks ago, the PRs behind the Ivy restaurant got in touch and said we're doing an auction. We're selling off some of the bits around the Ivy, like the doors at the front, the wooden doors, in an auction for charity. And it just made a brilliant picture, which we put on the front page. The same's true of Fortnum and Mason when they had, they were performing a few minutes of a ballet from the top of the balustrade at the entrance. And that made for a lovely picture just ahead of Valentine's Day. It's kind of basically, pictures are kind of sometimes crucial, but aside to that, you can have the smallest company in the city, but if it's got good personalities or an interesting product that it's selling, then we're going to be interested in it.